What's packing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the What's Packing Sports Show. I am your host, Godchild the First. Joined once again this week by Tom of the Green Bay House, live from the motherland, the promised land, or we should say the title land. Live from the title land, presented by the Say It Again Network. Very much thank you to them for, sponsoring us, publishing us, doing all that kind of stuff, man. Appreciate you guys. Man, look.
You've been quiet the last 3 days. I will say that.
Well, I've been sick. I've been sick since Sunday night. I was kind of feeling sick. Yeah, since like Sunday. I was kind of feeling a little sick Sunday. Maybe was it Saturday? I went to the gym one of these. I feel like I went to the gym. Maybe went to the gym Saturday. I went to the gym one of these days. I was kind of feeling a little whatever, but I thought it was gonna be all right. I thought it was maybe just like my sinuses or some shit like that, my allergies. Yeah. And then it just kind of, I went and got COVID test. I tested negative twice. I tested negative the day I got it done on Monday, like kind of at the height of my symptoms, and then I got tested again today. It was negative both times. So it is like, it's kind of hard to remember. It's like there are other things out there besides COVID, like it's like you can if you feel sick, it doesn't mean it's just
you're
COVID.
Gonna die.
Like you still have a flu. You still have seasonal things. You still have walking pneumonia, whatever. You still have like what is it, bronchitis. It's like there's all these different things that can give you quote unquote corona symptoms, but it's like almost nothing else exists. Only coronavirus to people now. So, it's
exactly.
Like I told my boss I was like out because I was feeling sick. She's like, "Well, I'm sorry you got COVID." I was like, it was negative. I'm just sick with something else. So, yeah, man, I was kind of out of it. I didn't even watch the Monday. Like, Monday night was the worst. I didn't even watch the Monday night game. Like, I couldn't even watch it.
Oh, really?
I just went to sleep. I slept literally all day Monday. Like, literally, just all day, like 24 hours. Like, basically, I got up to drink orange juice and piss. That was it. I was miserable. So, that's why I was kind of quiet. But, yeah, man, I mean, it wasn't a lot to be too noisy about. Packers, they got their stuff pushed in, man. They got their stuff pushed in 23-7. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings season opener on the road though. So, Vikings, they had a little bit of that road that home cooking, that home field advantage factor. And I tried to be the reasonable, sensible, cautiously optimistic person and warn people that this could happen, that the Packers could lose. I feel like I got in my gut, I knew they were going to lose, or I just kind of felt like they were going to lose, but I tried to. You gave me like, come on, man, you can't pick the Vikings, and so I didn't. So I tried to be positive. I tried to be all this stuff that everybody wants me to be. But the Packers won't let me. They won't let me be positive. Tom, it's not my fault. If they would have came out there and looked like the plethora of teams that won, hell, if they would have looked like the Eagles, or if they would have looked like the Ravens, or if they would have looked like the Bills, okay, completely dismantling the defending Super Bowl champions on the road, okay, mind you, if they would have looked like the Chiefs. 44 points. I didn't hear nobody. I don't hear Patrick Mahomes bitching and moaning about not having top flight receivers. I mean, Tyreek Hill's gone. He still got Kelsey, but I don't even think Kelsey had a touchdown. Maybe he did. It's fucking Travis Kelsey. But there was a lot of other guys that caught touchdowns for those dudes, man. A lot of other guys that caught touchdowns for those dudes. So I think we're off to a rough start, man. Not the victory Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday we won it. Big old fat piece of humble pie. That's what it is. The loser's pie. We got loser's pie, and we got to eat that. So, man, with no further ado, well, how was your experience? We're going to get into the 5 things, of course. Who, what, when, where, and why the Green Bay Packers win or lose. Ultimately, they lost this game, as we know. But before we jump right into that, how was your game day experience and just your weekend?
Away games are always a little bit different
Mm-hmm.
because generally speaking, we are not in Green Bay.
Right.
Generally, we are in Waukesha at our full-time residence, which, typically means that we're either in one of two spots, which would be either our garage, in our house, or in the basement, which is a little bit of a lot of bit of a Packer bar. But since it was so rainy and nasty out on
Ah.
Sunday, if you saw that Chicago game, we
Mm.
were basically getting
Right.
very similar weather
Because
in
you're close,
Milwaukee.
right?
Yep, all day.
Yeah.
Yep. So we kind of retreated to the basement bar, and it was cool. We had a couple TVs going. I had Red Zone going all day, so it was kind of fun taking in some of the games and getting back in the swing. And
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you know, yeah, overall it was a good day. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall it was good. How about you?
Yeah,
What'd you
man.
got? What'd you have going on?
Just at the crib, streaming. So I'm streaming all day. I stream from first kickoff to the very last one. So I'm streaming all day, watching all the games. I had I I don't watch Red Zone because it's kind of hard to like. I don't know, like I like to try to keep track of at least one game on the screen so it's kind of consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Without having like a major production setup, being able to switch. So, I
Sure.
watched the local game. I did watch the Commanders Jacksonville game. I had a couple players in that game, so that was kind of interesting.
Seemed like
But
Carson Wentz really played a great game,
nah,
is
man, I
what I
think I
heard.
think Wentz played a great game. A lot of the stuff that I've been hearing on the radio, local radio, as I've been driving to and from the work, has kind of been came to fruition. That Curtis Samuel dude, I mean, he lit it up. I went out and scooped him up in fantasy off the waiver wire,
Okay.
and Wentz. Honestly, I got both of them. I got both of those dudes because I got Trey Lance and what's my other guy and Baker Mayfield. So neither one of them kind of lit it up
Okay.
first week. Baker did decent at the end of the day, like 18 points, but yeah, so I was just chilling. Have my seltzers. Have my little seltzers. I'm heavy on the seltzer game now. It's like that's all
Nice.
I'm partaking in. I'm
Like
trying to
that.
keep the calories down, keep the sugar down. It was good. It was a fun weekend. Like you said, fun weekend. The one sort of knock on the weekend or the Sunday I should say is my fantasy team. Didn't do. I took a L on fantasy as well. So I could have maybe set things up a little bit better. I took some. I didn't have the best draft. Didn't have the best draft.
Okay.
My
Okay.
none of my pre-draft mocks really kind of went the way things do in real life. That's always the issue. And I kind of got in this situation, where I was trying to focus on too many things. I don't know, trying to coordinate the bye weeks and this thing and that. So but it's not all isn't lost. All isn't completely lost. I just need guys to perform better next week. I'm very similarly to the Packers week 1 performance. I got some people on my squad. They could have did much better. This is gonna be very little margin for error. It's gonna be very
Yeah.
little margin for error. Okay, how did your fantasy team do?
Really well. I had Devontae. I had
Ooh,
AJ Brown.
that's the
McLaurin
guy I
actually
fucked up
put
on.
up some points.
I should have drafted AJ
Mixon
Brown.
put up some points.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray still, I think, put up 23, even though they got their asses kicked.
that was
So,
another one. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah,
so it's nice, man. It was just like a nice little balanced team effort. Nobody had to put up like 40 points or anything crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody contributed. So it feels kind of good because the last couple of years it's been a little bit like I needed Jamar Chase to, bail me out with 45 points
Yeah,
in a
every
week
week.
to just be competitive. And,
yeah,
that's tough. So
yeah.
it was good, though.
All right, man. That's enough pre-game and enough of the pleasantries. We got to get into the nitty-gritty now. We got to get into the meat and potatoes in the thick of this thing with the 5 things. I need like a little button I can push. 5, 5 things from the football game or something. I don't know, like a little jingle to
A
cue
little
up
intro music.
yeah, to cue up this segment. And as we like to do, since you're on the home turf and I'm away, you get to go first with your first thing, which is who stood out to you this game. And I know it's kind of tough to pick a standout when you lose 7-23 and you don't really play that well. And it was kind of tough for me.
Yep.
But I mean, who did you say was the standout from this game?
I think I have, I'll say a few guys defensively.
Good.
I think Jaron Reed and Dean Lowry actually had moments of getting pressure on the quarterback. Quay Walker, his closing speed in one-on-one situations was impressive. Making tackles out in the flats. I thought sometimes in the run game he seemed to get a little bit flat-footed in the hole, and he was almost waiting for the ball carrier to get to him rather than exploding through the hole.
And there were a couple of plays, real quick, just to that point. There were because I got NFL Plus, so we get like the all 22 and shit.
By the way. Yep,
and so I was kind of watching, and there was a couple, maybe it's because he's just still young and things like that, or maybe it just was the scheme and stuff. But yeah, I definitely noticed that there were a couple of plays where it seemed like the formation that the Vikings were using, they really did their work on like trying to neutralize having both of those guys on the field, because there was a lot of times it's like the Packers were in really wide splits on their fronts.
They were.
And it was like Quay and Campbell had a lot. They had to cover like 2 gaps apiece. You know what I'm saying? It was one situation in particular. I was like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, what the fuck is he supposed to do here? Like, there's literally no right answer.
They were going with a 2 down lineman front in a lot of cases. And that's just, the Vikings ran them. The Vikings literally just made a living on Sunday with running the ball 4 or 5 yards at a time. I mean, really, it was what it was. And when you have 2 down linemen and you can double team and get through the hole and pick up an easy 3 or 4, I thought that was just, very conservative, but very easy for them to get that yardage, and really no push from Green Bay when it came to getting through the hole. So I thought he stood out. And then offensively, I think A.J. Dillon stood out the most to me. His effort seemed above and beyond the rest of the team. Yeah. And I know people are clamoring to give these guys 15 carries apiece, but the way that guy runs, I don't know if it's feasible to put that kind of a workload on A.J. Dillon's back the entire year and expect him to stay healthy through a 17-game season, because the way that guy runs is very aggressive, very physical. He's not, afraid to go put his body and not afraid to get an extra 4, 5, 6 yards in a pile of bodies and just put it all out there. So, and when he got in the game, I thought he made the most of his opportunities for the most part.
Yeah. As for my standouts, I mean, honestly, after listening to you, like, they're kind of similar. Like, I really didn't give anyone a real spotlight or standout award on defense, but I did notice, like you said, there were some plays, where Dean Lowry really did kind of flashed. I was like, okay, he was getting pressure, he was like getting tackles. I was like, okay, Dean, like, he really stepping it up, like, this year with the Packers. And I guess I felt a little bit, since you mentioned like this, as far as like something that stood out to you, like, I guess kind of in a bad way, was the run defense. I kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I disagree a little bit. I do know that the averages, they rushed for over 100 combined, and they did both average 4.2 or 4.5 yards a carry, which is not ideal. But I think when you, like, again, I say it all the time, numbers often lie. That's like, people say numbers never lie. I think they often lie, and it's not because they're dishonest, but it's because you can take the numbers and kind of almost make it whatever you want it to be, depending on how you frame it and everything like that. Sure. So I feel like holding Dalvin Cook to under 100 yards rushing is an accomplishment for a whole game. I mean, he had 20 rushes. They held him under 100. Then the other guy threw in like maybe 20 yards, 20 rushes or so. So I think they had like 118 on the day, which for a team like Minnesota, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's terrible. And I think there were some situations where the Packers just, because the offense was so bad, it put the defense in some compromising situations. And
Yep.
it's the same exact argument that I had when I was watching them from 2019 when they played San Francisco,
Yep.
and everybody wants to talk about how the defense gave up 200 yards rushing. I was like, yeah, that's true, but how many bad situations were they put in because the offense wasn't scoring points or sustaining drives or moving the ball or doing anything? And I feel like this is
Yep.
literally the like almost like a replica of that game. I mean, we didn't score
See,
until the third quarter.
yeah, and I would agree with you on that. I thought defensively it really wasn't as bad as it. I think people were really piling on, but
Well, because
you
the
know when your
expectations were
offense,
so high. I'm sorry to cut you off,
but
but that's really what it was.
when your offense so continually puts you in bad spots for
Yeah,
an entire game, and even still, it's a manageable game in the
very
fourth
manageable.
quarter that they could have won.
Mm-hmm.
On the road, defense only gives up. I go back to if you have if you hold the team to 23 points on the road, and it's a good offense, which they are. They have a lot of weapons, and you have Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers at quarterback. That's a game you expect to win.
Should.
You expect to win that game 27-23, 31-23, 35-23.
Honestly, even if it's
Um,
24-23, I mean, you should be able. I mean, I feel like honestly
sure,
with Aaron Rodgers and what they kind of have, even still with losing Adams and everything, you should still. I feel like 21 points every week is not. That's like you got to be able to do that. Like you have to be able to
yep,
put up 20 points. 20. So let me. Okay, so I feel like we're kind of getting into the next couple categories here. So let me just try to finish this up real quick. Um,
sure,
so I kind of said that was my like standout on defense was like it didn't like everyone like you said it kind of wasn't too it wasn't as bad as it felt in the moment, and
yep.
I feel like they actually did pretty good because they only gave up 2 touchdowns. So I mean the rest of the time they were pretty stout. So I just as a
I think
whole,
what was, yeah, and we could talk more about it,
yeah.
but I agree. There were some really bad things,
Oh, there was some
for
bad
sure.
plays. I mean, there was definitely some
Uh,
bad plays, but every
but
team is going
yeah,
to have those. There's no team that's never going to
for
not
sure.
have one or two or even three kind of big plays, bad plays in a game. It's like how do you respond? And they didn't give up another touchdown in the second half. I don't believe, right?
Yep,
So again, defense
yep,
stepped up in the second half. And then my by far the clearest standout was AJ Dillon. Yeah, AJ Dillon was my
yeah,
clear cut. I mean, he led the team in targets in the passing game. He led the team in targets in the passing game. Okay, he led the
for
team in
sure.
receptions in the passing game. He led the team in reception yards. Okay, he was 1 carry shy. No, not 1 carry. 1 yard shy, I think, of Aaron Jones's total. And he led the team in rushing attempts, and then he had the lone touchdown. So, yeah, he's a stud. He's a dog.
Yep.
He's he was well worth that second overall pick that people
Oh
bitching
yeah,
about. So
I know.
it's like I'm glad we got him, but we got to use him. And to your
Yep.
credit, and this is one of my things that we're gonna talk about a little bit later. Figuring out how to use both of these guys, I don't think it's as hard as it may seem. Just look
No.
at Cleveland. Just look at Cleveland.
Yeah.
They do
Well,
it.
I thought that was one. Yeah, that was one thing that was encouraging. Was I thought LaFleur did a great job mixing those guys up. I think the criticism I've always had is that in the past, Aaron Jones would seemingly disappear
Yeah.
for series at a time, and then AJ Dillon would disappear, and it was like, I thought they did a great job putting those guys on the field, putting Dillon in the backfield, putting Aaron Jones in motion. mixing it up, coming back and running. They ran multiple plays where they, hit Aaron Jones in the flat and then came back to Dylan on a very similar pattern. And how about the throwback? Just a real West Coast offense throwback with DeGuaro and Dylan in the I formation.
I love that formation.
And a play action with they then pass in the flat to Dylan.
I want to see that more.
I love that.
I want to see that a lot more. I love that too. Okay, so let's get on to the second W. What was your biggest takeaway? Or one of. Because I wrote down two, kind of, sort of, but they're kind of connected. But
man, it's only week one. That's what I'd have to say. I think that's my biggest takeaway out of this is just week one. We have to look for the positive and keep in mind that there's a lot of talent on this team that I think is going to play better as the year goes on.
For sure.
There's defense. They're healthy. That was a main takeaway is relatively healthy after 1 week. But there's only room for this team to get better at this point.
Oh, yeah,
offensively, from an injury perspective, from a defensive cohesion perspective. Now, I think there were some things that were disappointing from a coaching perspective that were a little bit mind-boggling. How they could be put in that situation. But I would say my biggest takeaway is I think
you're talking
this team has. Yeah, defensively.
Yeah. It seemed like the ghost of Don, not Don, but Mike Pettin. It seemed like the ghost of Mike Pettin out there a little bit on some of those plays. Because I when you said that, immediately I was thinking about how there were a couple of situations where I saw Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker and even Preston Smith covering Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen in the flats. And I'm like, I thought we were done with that shit. I thought we were done with that stupid shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just the position that those guys were in. I don't know if what the scheme was. It appeared to be a very soft zone coverage look in which the receivers were confused on who they needed to be, where they needed to be at certain points in the game, and you saw Amos on that big pass to Jefferson.
When he scored on?
Yeah, seemingly gets turned around and then misjudges the ball and then vacates the whole zone of the field. But even with Stokes on the first touchdown, Jefferson, he got confused and they both cornerbacks jumped in the inside receiver and left Jefferson wide open. It was like, with Stokes, Jair, and Rasul, three of arguably the best corners in the game, I guess it was a little disappointing that they didn't just pin up, press at the line, get physical, slow the receivers down. Because I think if you could press them, get them off the line a little bit slower, give your pass rush a little bit more time to get to Cousins, then you could have made this a manageable game. But they seemingly just kind of laid back, content to drop 7 into zone coverage, and unfortunately, they just didn't know where they needed to be at any given point in time. That led to critical mismatches in coverage and major errors, blown assignments in terms of guys being wide open.
No, I agree 100%, and and it's even more glaring when you watch the All 22. It's like more when you see the
you see
like
this
the confusion
and then.
Yeah. And there were a lot of times, and I don't know when a guy does this, if like that means you're supposed to like move immediately, or if that's just like a shift or something. But there were several times where I saw like guys do this, especially like Quay and Campbell. Like Campbell would do this to Quay, and he like wouldn't move. like I would expect like if a guy does this, like you should at least be like at least 2 shuffles or 1 shuffle. Like he might do this, and he might like take a step. It wasn't even like a real like, okay, let me really shift over to another gap. It was like he shifted like a hair. And I just feel like this is more of like a, no, motherfucker, I need you to like get the fuck over. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
for sure. And that kind of goes into my takeaway. And like I said, I kind of had two, and one is just more general and one is more specific. The first one is preseason matters, like maybe a little bit more than we think, or especially more than Rodgers thinks, because I feel like the teams who played more of their guys in the preseason came out and looked a little bit sharper, scored more points, didn't have as much communication issues and all these sorts of things. And I'm not saying that you need the preseason to like be good or this is going to carry on to the whole season, but it's like when this is competition. So it's like,
yep.
If you're sleeping while someone else is training, they're getting better than you. Like, you got to train
For
when
sure.
other people train. And really, you want to train when they train and then train more than them if you can. Because it's like, everyone's got the same 24 hours. Everyone's got the same 17-game schedule. Everyone's got the same parameters. We can't hit this many times. We can't dress. So it's like, you got to take every single fucking slither of an advantage you can get, and by just taking off for a month, basically not doing shit, you get rusty. And this is why I hate the buys and I hate all this shit. It's like, you get rusty, and when guys at the end of the season, we've got a 3-game lead over the division with 1 game left, 2 games left, sit everybody, we can lose the next 2 games and still win it. Why would you want to go onto a 2-game losing streak into the playoffs? That's just setting the wrong that's setting the wrong that's the bad way to go into the off season, on a 2-game losing streak. Even you can say, we sat all our people, but you're putting losing into your fucking cerebral cortex, like, you know what I'm saying, like, that's sinking in. So I don't like that, and I feel like, especially coming in with a bunch of young receivers, guys you never threw to, even if they are veterans like Watkins, okay, it's like you could see it. It was clearly evident that they were all over the fucking page. Whether it was Rodgers, honestly, I only got through half of the game, like on the rewatch, because I completely underestimated how much time I needed, because I'm fucking stopping it like 30,000 times on one play. So, but I counted up until first couple plays of the first couple drives of the third quarter. I counted 7 bad decisions by Aaron Rodgers. 7, and I'm talking about, like, okay, yeah, I'm not a fucking, a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. I don't know all the schemes and shit, but it's like, I've watched enough football, and there was even other plays within the game where I could stop and highlight and say, okay, why did you throw it on this play, but you didn't throw, like, literally the same ball, same situation, the guy's kind of open, you're looking right at him, but instead you hold it and then go to the flat or something. So I just counted, and there was you could just tell they were not on the same page. I'm like, the practice is good. I know you really like your defense, and I know they really pushed you and they really challenged you, and all that shit is great. But when you're going against the same people every fucking day, and you know that you can't sack the quarterback, and you know you can't really tackle and light someone up and do this, it's watered the fuck down. But Rodgers, oh my God, he's so big on practice. Practice is way more important than preseason. It's like, but bruh, you're not really going 100%. You can't even be fucking challenged in practice for real. They can't hit you. Most of it is geared towards the offense to succeed, right? And so it's like, you being in the preseason, really getting chased around, that's more important than you think. And my second takeaway was, I kind of forgot, and then I kind of remembered, but like, they really missed Lazard. They really missed.
I know.
Rodgers really missed Lazard, and that kind of is the second takeaway. Is like, unfortunately, through week 1, Rodgers seems to be on that same old bullshit he was on last year with the locking in on one guy. Like, he was not really spreading it around. He wasn't really giving guys an opportunity like that. I mean, for Christ's sake, Christian Watson drops the first pass of the play. Okay, we understand. Huge mistake. I said it earlier too. Like, I think these guys from these smaller schools, right? Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, like, this is different. They ain't never seen no shit like this before. A fully packed home opening day crowd from Minnesota probably had at most 10,000 seat stadium, 20,000 seat stadium or something at Dakota, South Dakota, North Dakota, where the fuck he went to.
For sure.
It's like, bro, you got 80,000 people in there screaming all kinds of stuff, and he just dropped it. It was just you could tell he's thinking like, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it.
I know.
And what does he do? He fucking drops it. And then I didn't even notice this until I saw this on a ESPN fantasy thing. But Amari Rodgers didn't get one fucking snap.
Did you hear what Rodgers had to say about that today?
No. What did he say?
Somebody asked him about what his role in the offense was, and Rodgers said, he's returning kicks for us now. That's all I have on that.
So that to me sounds like some Aaron Rodgers bullshit. That to me sounds like some or maybe not. Maybe Rodgers, but it's like
it's tough to tell.
It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell. That's an Aaron Rodgers like standard thing. On. But then I did see Rodgers saying addresses the concerns. I'm not changing the way I play. You know, I'm not changing how I do things. Guys got to be this. Guys got to be that. And I get it. There's a standard. But this is all you got, bro. This is all you got. And there is no fucking reason why you throw the very first pass to Christian Watson on the first play of your drive, of your series, right? He drops it wide open, and then he does not get a single target until 3 minutes and 52 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. That's unreasonable. That's not acceptable.
That's the exact note that I had
when I was watching that game. That is not acceptable. I don't care if you dropped every fucking pass you threw him. You have to keep throwing him the ball, because not throwing him the ball is going to increase his confidence.
Yep, it was terrible to. I think you shattered his confidence when you don't go back to him until basically the game is over.
The game's over. He's over. I agree. At the very least, he's over. He's done. You don't go back. I mean, they gave him a carry. They did give him an end around, like a reverse or some shit. He took it for 7 yards.
Sure.
But it's like, even the way he beat, I mean, Patrick Peterson, okay, he's not the top 10 pick, whatever he was, back when he's first drafted. He's not that dude anymore. But he ain't no bum. And he's not slow. Okay? Like, when you got speed like Patrick Peterson had coming out of college, you don't just lose it. Even I don't even want to put him in that category. I was going to say even Darrell Green at 60 can still run like a 4.4. But Darrell Green is like, he's like an alien. So it doesn't really count. But my point is, like, you don't lose that much speed, bro. Like, the way Christian Watson, I mean, he had like a 10-yard cushion on this dude. He didn't do no little fan. He literally just took off. He gave a little stab, a little jab step or stem, whatever step you want to call it. But I mean, this is a 10+ year vet. I know he's seen that a billion times. So like, he just flew past him.
Yeah, they just caught him. It was that was a genius play call to start the game. I mean, and in so many ways, that was obviously the biggest play of the game.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, that's a segue into the next. Into the next one. When was the turning point? I mean, for me, that, as crazy as it may seem, that was like my big turning point. That was my turning point, because it was like from that moment on, the like I said, they didn't go back to Watson, so that essentially cut their receiving corps down -1 guy. I like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch every single snap, but I watched it, and I did count 2 times. I counted 2 times. One was in the red zone, and one was another play that like Rodgers just like threw it away or some shit. And I can even send you the still images. Watson was wide open. I mean, he was wide open, like almost literally just standing there. And it's not like he was on the complete backside of the play or some shit. I'm not saying Rodgers is a fucking, owl or something. Like, he has, like, complete, 360 vision. But it's like, come on, man. Like, at the very least, I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that Rodgers knows every single player's route, responsibility, and like basically like some general idea of where the fuck they are on the play. If they do what the fuck they're supposed to do, he knows where you're at. General, like within,
Yep.
Give or take 2 or 3 yards. You know what I mean? He's gonna be like, look, you should be there. So if nothing's open over here and shit's about to break down, at the very least, I should be able to look at you at the last second or whatever and throw it to you. You should know, and you should know. I mean, you're an 18-year veteran. You should know coverages and all this other shit. I mean, I know they got some new people in there, but it's like, come on, man. Like, you ain't seen. There's not that much, I feel like, at this point in your career that they can throw at you and confuse you.
For sure.
So it's like, to me, in those moments, to be looking in his direction and to see that he is the better option and to not throw it to him, that is Rodgers on that bullshit. That's that, like, I'm going to teach you a lesson type bullshit. And that's that, I got to, now I got to punish you and I got to teach you if you drop the wide open. It's like, I thought he didn't care about drop. He always said mental mistakes is more critical than physical mistake. Everybody drops the ball. Jerry Rice dropped passes. Okay, Randy Moss dropped passes. Everybody's gonna drop a fucking pass, wide open, whatever. So, yeah, you can't not go tell Christian Watson to sit in the corner with the fucking dunce hat on for 3 quarters because he dropped the pass on the first play. You can't.
That's the way it felt. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that was a mistake. I thought Dobbs made some nice plays, though. I mean, he continues to get in the game.
I mean,
and make an impact.
Yeah, no, I mean, he had like decent plays for his position in life. You know what I'm saying? But like, he didn't have anything close to what he did in the preseason or in practice.
No, for sure.
But I'll let you expound more on how you felt about your turning point, or if we both agree that was the most solid turning point, or if you had some other points where you felt like the game kind of switched up on you, or you felt like, man, the Packers really let one slip away or whatever.
No, I agree with you. I think that first play, the offensive drive, I think for so many reasons, just the fact that the whole narrative the entire offseason has been how these receivers are going to play, how they're going to respond, no Devontae Adams. And in so many ways, if he would have made that catch, that would have dispelled almost instantaneously
right out the
every
window.
Narrative that has been, sifted around for the last 5 or 6 months.
Man, that's an 80-yard play on the very first. Boom, touchdown.
And, hopefully that's not an omen for the season, but it almost felt in a way like when he dropped that pass that, like, collectively just, I don't want to say everybody gave up, but I think it was just like, it was a pretty deflating moment. You could easily say the fourth and goal situation was kind of a turning point of the game as well.
Now, so let me ask you real quick about that. What did you agree or disagree with the decision? Do you prefer them to take the points, or do you like them going for it, but you don't like the play? I mean, like, what was your break that down for me? Excuse me, how you felt about that?
I think I like the aggressiveness.
Yeah. Okay.
I think anytime you can leave a team on the 1 yard line, you're giving yourself a pretty good shot to get a turnover at some point, or they're going to go 99 yards for a score.
They did not,
which is very tough. But I think that, the toughest thing for me was you had 4 plays, 4 of them to the running backs, and I just that was a glaring situation where, like, really, we can't get the ball in the end zone one time. We're not going to take a shot
matter of fact,
at a Tunyon. Or
that may have been one of the plays I was talking
guys.
about with Christian Watson. That may have, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, why wouldn't you try to, like, if Devontae Adams was in the game, if he was still here, they would have been the opposite. Like, the first 3 plays would have all went to him. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, it would have been 3 fades to Devontae in the corner of the end zone on one-on-one coverage.
One quick slant in there, something.
Yes, something. So my biggest problem with that drive was just the lack of aggressiveness around throwing the ball into the end zone. You give it to Dillon and Jones thinking, I'm going to give my best players on the field a shot to make a play. But it was just it was a very conservative. Even though the drive was aggressive in going for it on four downs, it was a very conservative
Call.
managing of the
Yeah.
play calling. In addition to Rodgers, holding, giving up the RPO when he clearly had probably a walk-in touchdown scenario where Zadarius Smith is diving into the pile, vacates the whole edge, and you've got a situation
As he
where,
always does.
yep, you probably can walk it in. That felt like the whole method of operation of the day, which was, confusion, nobody really stepping up, nobody knowing their assignment to a certain extent, and that play was like in a microcosm how the whole game felt to a certain degree. But I think they can figure out all these things. But I will say this: I don't think jamming the ball down Aaron Jones's throat and AJ Dillon's throat is the answer. Everyone's saying you got to give these guys 15 carries a game, and you got to. I don't look at that game and have a huge problem in the disparity or how many times that those guys got opportunities. Maybe it was a little bit light for Aaron Jones, 5 carries instead of Dillon had 10. But
that's bad. That's bad.
It is. Bad. But as I looked at the game, I didn't think, oh man, like where are these guys? I thought at times they utilized both of them in the drive very, very effectively to gain yards. But
I'll give you that.
Then also, when it was time to pass, they just couldn't capitalize on those opportunities. And for the most part, the Vikings, they didn't do anything exotic on defense in the sense that they weren't bringing pressure. Even when they showed blitz, they would drop out, and they'd usually drop 7, rush 4, and they just beat the Packers off the ball. I mean,
but that's why that they didn't run the ball enough, because you have to, you want to have your bread and butter. You want to be able to impose your will at times, because there are going to be moments when you need to get what you got to get, and you can't go any other. You can't do anything else. You can't go around it or under it or whatever or over it. You got to go through the obstacle. You got to just say, God damn it, we got to get this. And I understand that. But when you look at and I agree with you in the sense where it's like in the moment, kind of sort of like even that Watson play in the moment, it didn't feel as demoralizing as it eventually turned out to be in that moment. It was like definitely like a damn, like wow, yeah. And Rodgers looked. He didn't look like that's all right, kid. Get him next time. He looked like, see,
I know.
This is kind of what, and that was and I didn't really notice it until now rewatching it. But to me, say what you want. I'm a hater and this, but he looked like he was throwing a fucking tantrum. Like he was like, I tried to tell you guys, these little rookies aren't going to be able to be on my level. They're going to drop everything. They're going to be in the wrong place. I don't want these rookies. I wanted Devontae. I wanted, So I'm not going to play to my best. It's week 1. Who gives a fuck? It's basically preseason game number 4. It's like, it doesn't matter. We lose every year, damn near, basically with me in week 1. It doesn't. We can, and we can still get the first number 1 seed. It's like, I don't know how cognizant he's really doing that shit, but it's like his whole it's just his body language for me. It's really, and maybe it's just like maybe his body is like different from his mind, and his body is given different language, but internally he's thinking more positive or something. But it's like, bro, like
it doesn't look good.
I just can't understand how. You demand all this perfection from these receivers, but if a layman can watch the game and count 7 opportunities where you made bad decisions, it's like you ain't performing perfect. You're not perfect, so how the fuck can you go out here and tell them that they got to be up to your standard? Nigga, your standard ain't good. Like your standard wasn't good. You got outplayed by Kirk Cousins. You had a 67 quarterback rating. They threw the ball 36 times. No, was it 36 or was it 34? They threw the ball 34 times. Now, the issue that I agree with you, like in the moment, it didn't feel like there was this big, long, gap of like the running backs and like kind of the running game, because they did throw they do some screens, they did some little end around, they did some little things, but when you go back and you look at it big picture, you're like, no, this is bad, because you can't throw the game, because it didn't feel as off balance as it was, because when they're coming out and they're giving you these run looks, you have to take them. You have to check to them. You have to punish them. You have to tell, if you're going to give, it's a fucking jab. You're going to let me just keep tapping your chin? Tapping your nose? Okay. I'm going to get these little, because you know why? Because those count. You might not knock them out, but at the end of the day, they're like, damn, you hit this motherfucker 50 times in the face. Doop, doop, doop. Like, you getting the points for that. And you don't get points for running the ball, but in the same way that taps and body blows add up, that shit adds up. And then just when they're thinking like, God damn, we keep giving these little 3 yards, 4 yards. Ugh! Okay, fuck it, blitz. Blitz they got. Crouch up. Then that's when you hit them with, that's when you bust them over the head with the play action. Or screen.
Well, we're gonna see if there's an overcorrection on Sunday.
No, they have to.
That's for sure.
It has to be overcorrection. So to me, 18 carries to 34 rushes. That's just barely over. No, and I'm not even gonna say 18 carries, because that was like a scramble. That was like including Rodgers and the receivers. If you go purely off the running backs, 15 carries. That's under 50%. You have to be balanced, especially now you don't have Devontae Adams to just kind of correct everything, the little error corrector.
Yep.
You have to be balanced. This is not a team that can just go out there and lock in on one guy. No, bro. You got to be balanced. So 18 is not enough. If you're going to do that kind of game plan, you got to at least give me, it's got to be, 20, 25. You got to get those guys more involved. And you can't have this disparity at the end of the game where it's almost more than 50% of your plays were passes, when you have nothing in the passing game to really justify that, and you have everything in the running game to say they should have had 36 rushes in 18 passes. To me, that's how it should have played out. Now, is that going to be every week? No, but this week you had to do that. You had to do that
for sure.
So,
we'll see. It'll be an interesting week.
So that was, whew, that was our takeaway. That was our turning point. Plus, just a bunch of other stuff. Where would you place this victory on a scale of 1 to 10, in your opinion, based on the fact
loss?
That
you mean
loss? Or I said win. Yeah, this game, this loss. Where would you scale this?
Well, if they lose, I think you're instantly under 5.
Right.
For a loss, I would say.
Well, it depends how you lose.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you lose, you're probably at least tipping the scales for sure. But I think it was probably a 2,
Ooh.
2.5.
Okay.
It was pretty bad. There wasn't much to look at and say this was great, aside from the fact that I think they're a talented team that is ascending back from injury. So there's some reasons to be optimistic. But this was a tough one for sure.
I gave him a little bit better. I feel like I didn't think I would be the more generous grader on the show when we first started, but I feel like every single time I came in a little bit higher than you on the grades. I'm gonna go with a 4.
Interesting.
Because I really think, because I the final score matters, and everything, nothing is like black and white. It's all nuance and all that kind of shit. So like I said, if they would have gone there and won and lost the game, but put up a bunch of points and looked a little bit better, and just like you said, the Vikings are good too. Justin Jefferson, this motherfucker been a top 10 receiver since he was a rookie. So
yep.
And Thielen ain't no slouch. So they got Cook and they got they got Hunt. Zadarius Smith, all the fans that wanted to like shit on Smith and tell him he was da da da. I mean, he had a big game. He was all over the place.
Yep.
He was all over the place.
Yep.
I mean, did you see that play? He had one play. Everybody was talking about how Little Fournette lit the kid from Cowboys up. Did you see that hit? Did you see that block?
I didn't see that play.
Man, everybody was talking about that in the Cowboys Tampa Bay game. You know, Micah Parsons. You know, he be getting off. He's off to a roaring start, and he was rushing like a demon. And they just decided to chip him. And, you know, Leonard Fournette, he ain't no little guy. So when he chipped him, he knocked him on his ass. Like his feet was like up in the air. And, you know, everybody was saying, woo, and you know, Micah Parsons being the dog that he is, being the guy that he is, being just the super alpha dog. It's like he was pissed and being young. He went to Twitter, was like, man, nah, fuck all that. Like, y'all slicing it too much. Y'all blowing out of proportion. When it was 1-on-1, I put him on his ass. Like, he was just, and then Leonard Fournette just sent him back to Jordan crying face meme on Twitter. This is all on Twitter, okay? So this is like public. So, you know,
love that.
He rocked him. But the opposite happened in our game when did you see that play when Zadarius Smith came in and AJ Dillon tried to... I was like, that's impressive. I'm sorry. I mean, Dillon's a big dude. He's got a low. We know he's low. You know, he got he's a heavy load, okay? So the way Z just came through that joint and literally knocked this man sideways, I was like, okay, I gotta give it up to you, Z. Like you show why
Zadarius came to play.
He came to play. I think they all kind of came to play, honestly. Kirk Cousins specifically, okay? This might be the year of the Cousins, man, because he looked good. He was sharp out there. I mean, and the reason why I gave him a 4 is because, look, as bad as it was, as ugly as it was, like you said, I mean, there was obviously clearly miscommunication issues on both sides of the ball. Like I said, Rodgers throwing his little tantrum, so that affects things. Watson drops a surefire touchdown, okay, that changes the momentum. I mean, Aaron, who like never turns the ball over, turned it over twice on back-to-back fucking back-to-back possessions. Turned it over, fumble and an interception, and that was one of the plays. That was one of the plays. If you go back, and I think I took a screen capture. And I'm gonna post these. I'm gonna try to post them out with just like showing people like some things. It's like on that play where he threw that ball up that got intercepted. Like he literally had someone like wide open. Like it is like, why would you just throw that down the field to Randall Cobb of all people, 5'11", aging Randall Cobb, who's had all these injuries and shit. Like why? Like if you're gonna throw that ball up, you gotta throw that to Dobbs, or you gotta throw that up to hell, even Big Dog. You know what I'm saying? Like he's at least 6'5" or 6'6", whatever he is. So it's like it's just like locking in on guys, not spreading it around. So it's like, and these are all things, as critical as I am, these are all things that are very fixable. And I feel like a fucking future Hall of Fame, multiple MVP winning quarterback should be able to like easily make these adjustments, and they should be able to fix all this shit. So I kind of curve it a little bit on a grade. Plus, it's divisional game, which is always crazy. You never really you kind of throw the records out the window, even though everybody had no record. It's like So and again, like I said, defense. Yeah, they gave up 2 touchdowns, but they also tightened up in the second half and only allowed 3 kicks. So it's like, you know, I graded it a little bit higher, but I mean, yeah, it's still failing. They still kind of stunk it up. So I gave them a 4. The last thing is why the Packers ultimately lost this game to the Vikings, 23-7. In your opinion, Mr. Tom, from the Green Bay house, from the house of Green Bay. Are you watching?
I think it was coaching.
House of Dragons. I'm sorry, this is like completely random. Are you watching House of Dragons?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not.
All right,
I'm not. I think his coaching was the reason they lost. Yeah, I think they defensively the game plan sucked. I think it was it was very passive. Um, you know, offensively, yeah, I mean, you're right. They probably didn't utilize the running game as much as they should have, especially with that much inexperience at the receiver
Yeah.
core, not to build a little bit of um, opportunity for those guys. So, I think LaFleur is a smart guy.
He's definitely
I
smart.
think they're going to make some adjustments. I think Joe Barry's a good coach. I think they've got good coaching on this team. I don't know. For whatever reason,
It
it just did not seem as though they came out prepared for this game. Yeah,
offensive line.
even the play to Jefferson that was the very egregious one was a broken play in which Kirk Cousins was stepping up in the pocket, evading a sack, and Amos got turned around. So that was really arguably the biggest play of the game
Uh huh.
that they had from a passing perspective, which was on a broken play.
Right.
So as I look at that, Kirk Cousins wasn't phenomenal. I don't think Dalvin Cook was phenomenal. I
No.
think they did a good job of chunking out 4, 5, 6 yard runs, which they just consistently moved the ball down the field methodically. And Kirk Cousins got the ball out into the flat and took advantage of mismatch opportunities where Jefferson was covered by a linebacker or there was confusion in the secondary. But I don't think it was anything fantastic. I don't think they looked great. I thought he, managed the game fairly well for the most part, but they just, I don't know. It was a weird game to watch. It really did feel weird at the
Mm.
end of the day because I felt like Green Bay was in it for the majority of the game up until the fourth quarter, and there was nothing that Minnesota did. In fact, frankly, the game probably should have been 35-7.
No. Yeah.
Honestly.
Mhm.
I mean, to your point, they didn't score a touchdown in the second half.
Mhm.
They held them to 6 points. They had other opportunities in the first half to score when they ended up kicking a field goal.
Yeah.
So I mean, the game could have been. And to be honest, even in the last drive, I'm surprised they didn't just jam it down Green Bay's throat. I thought they were very conservative to run out the game, where it was they had opportunities and maybe that's just not the way that this team is going to operate under this coaching staff. So we'll see.
I ain't mad at it. It's because if you stay a little, if you get a, I mean, look, I mean, as critical as I am of Aaron, we've all seen this dude, 37 seconds, 46 seconds. I mean, 20 seconds. I mean, dude, no seconds. Like I mean, it's like don't lick the gift horse in the mouth. Don't fuck around and go deep and then Jair pick one off and then run it back and then Rodgers get the ball back and then they get because yeah, it was kind of weird because I do feel like ultimately the defense as it is very weird because I really feel like they didn't play that bad even though like they gave up 23 points in today's NFL, especially with an offense that can move like this offense. It's more than you would like in your fantasy head and your fan mind is like, 17 points. We want to shut them out. Like, there's the Vikings. They suck. Like, no, they don't suck. Like, they're actually really good. I told y'all, motherfuckers, they're going to be giving Green Bay some problems this year. Not just when they play them, but, like, probably winning more games, making this division more competitive. But they did give up some big runs, but there was a lot of times in the first quarter where the Packers got 3 and outs. They got 3 and outs, and they like you said, they held them to field goals and things like that. So it's like those are all little victories for the defense, and it's like, but when you're not scoring points or generating offense on the other end, it becomes almost like a fruitless endeavor. Ultimately, though, I think why the Packers lost is, like you said, coaching. That's a good one because I do often think about players because I'm a very big players play, coaches coach, and players like are more important than the plays. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the coaching, yeah, some of these mismatches on defense. Like I said, the lack of running the ball, but then there's always with that situation with the plays. I'm always kind of like Well, is LaFleur calling shit and Rodgers is changing it? I don't know, but whatever you have, whoever's to blame or whatever, yeah, that's that. Not running the ball enough, staying balanced on offense, and not going back to Christian Watson. And on defense, yeah, I will say they did just play. They seemed to play a lot of soft, like you said, very soft, very conservative coverage. And then there was even
Yep.
cases where because that soft conservative coverage, and it seemed like from what I saw, it was a lot of zone coverage. And maybe there was some like
Yep.
man concepts sprinkled in because there were some times where like they were motioning Jefferson to basically say, "Are y'all going to sit? Are y'all going to let Jair follow him? Are y'all going to play man or zone?" And that's like, and for those who don't know, that's like a dead giveaway. For most of the times when they bring people in motion and shit like that, they're just trying to see is the offense in zone, or is the defense in zone, or are they in man? If the guy that's you're standing in front of, when he moves across the formation, if you don't follow him, or all you do is like shift over a little bit to another zone, you're in zone. Now, people know this, and you can always try to disguise things and shit like that. Disguise zone with a man, disguise man with a zone look. You can do all that kind of shit, but I don't think that's what they were really doing. And that was confusing to me. And there was, I think there was something, maybe during the telecast, or maybe I read after the game or something about, some of the reasons why you might not want to maybe put Jair, have him following Jefferson all the time, because then you put yourself in situations where you have, Jair, who's like the littlest guy on the team, and in situations where he can get picked, rubbed, or they could just run at him. You know what I'm saying? They could, so that does kind of put him in a little bit of a compromised situation. But I feel like the risk is worth the reward of, having a guy follow him. You can't play zone with Jefferson. I mean, I know it's kind of dangerous to play man too, because he's fast and he's physical. But it's like, if you're gonna just give him space, he gonna do what he did on Sunday. He gonna eat you up.
Yeah.
He's gonna eat you up. That's like 150 guaranteed 150 yards every Sunday if you play him the way the Packers play him. Now, like you said, there was some mistakes and shit like that, but even still, like, even if Amos doesn't get tripped up, that's still like a 30-yard gain. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't a touchdown,
sure.
But it's still a big-ass play. So, you kind of just delayed the inevitable, I feel like, with that play style against these guys. So I think ultimately playing too conservative, not playing to their strengths on defense. You got three cornerbacks that really, I feel like, and even Jair said, you got to ask them while I'm not shadowing him.
I know.
I want him. Trust me. I want every single guy you got out there. I want him. I ain't mad at Jair for speaking up. Like, he ain't say, I mean, he said what he said, but he ain't say all he could have said. He said what he said, and it's obvious. It's clear. But he was conservative. He was respectfully. He said what he said respectfully, and I ain't mad at it, because if Aaron Rodgers can whip his dick around and demand fucking meetings and all of this shit, like, then you gotta give your top guys. You can't play favorites like that. Your top guys is your top guys.
Yep.
Because when you get into that, then that's when you really start making issues. It's like, so Rodgers can say whatever the fuck you want to say, tear down the organization on press conferences, threaten to quit on the team. People can say what they want to say, but if you go at this point in your career, you got money on your contract, and you coming off an MVP, and you talking about I might retire, nigga, that's quitting on your fucking team. That's quitting on your team, like, straight up. So,
but this is what we're gonna have to deal with.
I don't think
this is what we're gonna have to deal with.
I hope not. And I think part of it is me personally. Like, when I was in school, and I went to art school. I didn't go to art school, but I majored in art. Most art students are terrified of critique day. There's been times when, like, I get suggestions and I'm like, nah, that's okay. I like it just how I have it. If you want to give me a B instead of an A, that's fine, because that's my artistic expression. So it's like, that's kind of how I approach this. Is like I love critique day. This critique day. I love watching the
Yep.
game, but I love critique day because this is how you get better.
Yep.
And for a lot of fans, a lot of people, it's just like, oh, you're just being a negative fan. You're just being this. You're like, nah, I'm just being real. This is what the coach is doing. You know what I'm saying? This is what the players need to be doing. And so, that's where we at now. I don't think this is gonna. I do still stand by my statement. This might be a long one. Green Bay fans, Cheeseheads. This might be a long one. There's gonna be some highs, but I feel like there's gonna be some new lows we ain't seen. This might be the first time LaFleur gonna dip under that 13 wins. I really now, depending on how Minnesota looks for the rest of the season, and let's be real, say what you want to say, but the Bears, they suck. They still suck. But I'm just saying, you don't want to lose week 2 at home to your cross state rivals, okay? You know what I'm saying? The oldest rival in football. Defense looked like they had a little spring in their step, a little spring back, getting turnovers and things like that, hitting hard. You know they're gonna be fired up. They're gonna be fired up. Everybody has the same mission in this division. Take down Green Bay. Like they not worried about the playoffs. They worried about 10 win seasons. They worried about beating Green Bay. That's their biggest mission in the season.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a blowout. I think the Bears are a shitbag team. I think the 49ers might not be that good of a team either, to be honest. I think that was 2 dog shit teams, very sloppy. Trey Lance, I don't know. Book's still out.
We gotta see.
The 49ers think that he's the guy.
Yeah, and that's why right. Look, we there's all different kinds of anecdotes, right? For this, Josh Allen, right? He couldn't complete 50% of his passes his rookie year, and now look at him. Everybody's saying he's the new best quarterback in the NFL. All this other stuff. Okay, Peyton Manning, 26 interceptions rookie year. Eli Elway, all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing about Trey Lance that gives me some confidence is these guys kind of know what they have. They know exactly what they want in a quarterback, and they have the system to kind of help him thrive. Now, I gave him a little too much credit, maybe thinking like it was going to be just a 1-to-1 example, a 1-to-1 comparison from Roberts' rookie year to Trey Lance's first year as a starter. It ain't looked that way at the beginning. But then again, that was a very sloppy conditions, and we all know Soldier Field is like the worst field in the league.
Oh, God.
And so maybe these are 2 dog shit teams. But any given Sunday, a dog shit team can kick your ass or win if you don't come out ready to play, and if you don't make adjustments, and if you continue to not go to guys who are open to try to teach them a lesson, or if you don't take what the defense gives you, because in the NFL, that's a recipe for success. It may not always be a recipe to blow them out every week, but that's a recipe for success. Take it. They're going to give you something. Take it. Having 2 games in the division to start up the season, that's tough. That's tough.
It is tough.
That's
tough. It's going to be a tough year. We talked about it. The whole schedule is going to be challenging the entire year. I mean, they don't have an easy road, especially these first couple months. So, we'll see what happens. But I have a feeling they're going to bounce back this week. Yeah. But then you got to go, right back into 2 tough teams, or right back to back. I mean, you got to go down to Tampa Bay and play Tom Brady, and that's not going to be easy. So it's like we talked about. I mean, we talked about the possibility that they could be 1-2 to start the year very easily. Very easily that could happen. And so, I mean,
but do you think there's any possibility that they come out here and drop one to the Bears?
No,
I mean, no.
I think the Bears are a bad team. They're shut. Literally, they've lost so much. Any star power they really had on that team is gone from last year for the most part. And they lost Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Rokon
Equimedius, though,
Smith.
called a TD. Revenge game for Equimedius. It's the Equimedius revenge game, man.
I don't
Equimedius
think he's
revenge.
even thinking
That sounds like a
revenge
good.
game.
That actually sounds like a great. That's a great fantasy. That's a great fantasy team name. Equimedius revenge. I'm gonna write that down. Isn't that a great name? Equimedius' revenge. I don't know. That is to me.
Here's the thing, though. I don't see them dropping this game, and hopefully it's not close. I mean, hopefully this is a double-digit win type of
Right.
scenario, but you never know, man. It's the NFL,
It's the
so
NFL.
we'll have to see what happens. But
It's the NFL.
I'm
Tom.
excited about it. I'm excited about it.
I'm
That's
excited
for
about
sure.
it. I mean, yeah, we gotta kind of. I'm gonna look a little bit deeper into it. I mean, they did lose a lot of stars, but I mean that's their thing. They're like, we're finding new stars. We had Justin Fields. We think he can be a star. They still got the line. They still got Roquan Smith, and they still got the safety. They still got those. I mean, those two players are still top tier. I don't really know who's left on the defensive line right now. I think Hicks, Akeem Hicks, who is a guy I feel like who's just been criminally underrated his entire career. Akeem Hicks. I don't know if he's even on the team anymore. He might be gone. So you have a point there, and this is definitely the Packers have their number. But I'm just saying, look, prepare yourself, Packers fans. This is gonna be a long season, and like you said, it's not going. It might not be pretty. Like you said, you want. This is a game where you definitely want the Packers to come out and hang like 38-10. I mean,
Yeah,
if everything's
100%.
clicking and cylinders are fired up, and they're not missing beats, and they're not running around like Low, Curly, and Mo out there in the secondary.
Yep.
Yeah, this is definitely a 38 kind of 10 kind of affair.
That's how I feel.
And
That's what I want to see.
And that's what I was thinking. Honestly, like in my gut, I was like, last week in my gut, I was like, look, I think this is how it's going to start out. Then he's going to start out getting socked in the mouth. But at the same time, usually when you punch Aaron Rodgers in the mouth, he doesn't like it. He gets mad.
Yep.
And and then he goes into hawk mode. He just smashes your
He
defense.
does. He does. That's what I think we're going to be dealing with.
And look, and this is just for all the people who just call me a hater and negative. Look, I really think, like, honestly, when I was watching it, I was like, they're gonna bust the Bears' ass next week because it's just like too much negativity and too much like overreaction and yada yada yada. I mean, but truthfully, they did they looked worse than the Bears to me though last week. Like they looked like the worst team in the division. So I mean, they can't come out.
They
like
look
that.
tough.
And
Nope.
but it's a division game, man. And maybe they're down, and maybe the Bears are going to fucking take advantage while they're down, kick them while they're down, kick them again, yeah. And then they go to Tampa and get kicked again. So it's like they got it. But and LaFleur talked about adversity. They kind of like trust fund babies. You know, every year, mommy, daddy's going to give me 13 wins, and I just punch my ticket to the playoffs. It's like, nah, bitch, like this year, you're going to have to get your fingernails dirty.
Yeah, they're going to have to work. You're right about that. I mean, they're going to have to roll up their sleeves and get it done. It's going to be a tough year.
Like, nah, man, this might be a 10, 11 win season this year. And I mean, 10 wins, 10-7, that's going to be tough to swallow. And then you fuck around. You'll fuck around and not win a division with 10 games. I don't think 10 games wins the division this year because, like as I said, and look, the Lions, I'm jumping way ahead now, but the Lions, I mean, they ain't look too shabby. They ain't look too shabby against Philly. They gave up a lot of points as a high-scoring game. But, you know, I'm just saying. I think the division this year, not saying they definitely have a 100% chance of knocking the Packers off, but I think that this division this year, they came to play. And everything I've heard people say, the national media, you know, I listen to the local radio station. The Commanders playing the Lions this week. They got guys from, you know, different segments of their network talking about things, and everybody that's watched Hard Knocks has said this team is different this year. They just seem a little different. You could say maybe they don't have all the talent. They don't have the winning pedigree over the past fucking ever in the history of their franchise. But you've got to turn it around at some point. Even the fucking Cubs won the goddamn pennant after 100 years, Tom. You cannot be bad forever. Yeah. If the Cubs can win a World Series after 100 years, the NFC North has a chance to challenge them. Them. Not having no 3-game, 4-game division lead going into the last week of the season where the last 2 games don't mean shit. No, I think this year it's gonna mean something. It's gonna mean something. That's all I'm gonna say. However you want to take that, whatever that means to you, having a record, the last 2 games this year gonna mean something. Nobody gonna be sitting their ass on the bench all happy and with a little towel on. Oh, we're gonna be first round draft. First buy. Nah, ain't gonna know that shit this year.
I agree.
So. I
think you're right.
All right, guys. Anything else for the good of the show before we go? Anything else you want to mention? Any other things you noticed from the weekend that just stood out to you? Something that was on your radar?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Okay, that's it for today, man. Yep. Episode 39. Real quick. We got to dedicate the show to somebody. I did more research, and I got 3 names. I'll go through real quick. Some guy named John Martinkovitz. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler for the Packers back in the 50s. He played D end and D tackle. He wore number 39, which is kind of a weird number, right, for a D tackle. And we got another guy. I forget this dude. I didn't write his whole name down, but that's not really important. The one that's interesting is remember last week I did Kyle Hubbard?
Yeah.
Well, this motherfucker had like 5 different jerseys for the Packers.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
He wore 41, 39, 40, 38, 27, and 51. And maybe that's because back then when you played offense and defense, you had to switch your jerseys or something because he was a 2-way player. I don't know, but he wore all 6 of those numbers for the Packers.
Wow.
So
very interesting.
That is interesting, right? We'll go back to back on the Kyle Hubbard, man, 38 and 39, and we'll throw in John Martinkovitz, 2-time Pro Bowler back in the 50s. Okay, congratulations to you, gentlemen. Your legacy continues to live on. Until the next show, go Pack, go, and remember, Bears coming to town. And we hope they still suck.
They do. I'm confident they do.
And Ty's confident. All right, boys and girls. Peace.
All right. See you, brother.
See you next week, man.